Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining D. Grant Smith and myself, Ray Gage, for another conversation episode of All Angles Asked, Triple A. D, how you
Yes, sir.
feeling?
I'm feeling fantastic. I was going to ask you when we first got on our call, on a scale of 1 to 7 billion, because it is the 7th day of the month. On a scale of 1 to 7 billion, how fantastic is your day going today?
There's probably not a way for it to be any less than 7 billion.
Okay. I thought you might say something like 7 billion and 11, but that's
Well, that's almost like sometimes I think, we ask, you say, well, it's 110%. Well, I get what 110% means, but why do we need it to be more than 100%?
yeah. We're
And
about to be joined.
I tell people, people will ask me, how are you doing, or how's your day going? And my response, as you know, is seldom anything other than fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And people will ask me, like, really? Fantastic? And my response what I would challenge you to think about is this. Most people get up in the morning and they don't think that they're fantastic. Their goal is to get there. My goal is to wake up and feel fantastic and stay there. How much easier do you think it would be to start there than it is to try to get there?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a great question. So then let me ask you the same question.
Okay. On a
Or,
scale from 1 to 7 billion, how fantastic is my day going?
yes.
7 billion and 11.
Bird.
That's how I was able to come up with that number.
So 7-Eleven.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So there's a reason why you came up with that number. I agree. I
Yep.
get it.
And I got this little one here to help out. You
Well,
can't
see,
see her.
I don't have that, so I'm guessing that would be the extra 11 potentially.
She's probably an extra 7.
Okay.
Is that your favorite number, kid? I'm holding my little puppy named Zoe. She's just the cutest kid ever. So she easily makes every day a 7 billion day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We had talked about what we might start with this episode with, and I think it's powerful. You and I have talked about this before. You had mentioned something in a podcast that we did recently. One, I don't remember if it was our most recent one or if it was the one right before it.
I think it was two episodes ago.
And we were talking about some things, or you were talking about some things, and there was so much meat and potatoes in the little, I think you called it your little rant that you went off on, and my, as you were talking, I mean, my mind was going in different places, and it wasn't until I listened again to that podcast episode. I was actually out mowing the lawn, and I listened to. That's what I do when I'm mowing the lawn. Is I think, I listen, I try to process things without the normal noise.
Hmm.
But and you said something in that little rant, as you called it, that I really missed the first time
Hmm.
I heard it. And I was like, I literally stopped in the middle of mowing the lawn, and I paused the recording and I sent you a text. and,
Yeah, I remember that.
and I was like, dude, I missed this. This is powerful.
Hmm.
But I want you to I want you to talk about in your own words what that was about and kind
Mm,
of where your thought process has taken you since that point. And the subject was, and I'm just gonna name it broadly because I don't want to give
yeah,
anything away. But you were talking about the serpent's promise to Eve in the Garden of Eden.
yeah.
So is that enough for you to take it from here and kind of?
Well, yeah. So you, I appreciate how much acknowledgement and credit you give me, Ray, but actually, like you deserve the lion's share of this because you had built up our discussion around the reality and the truth that is something that you base the way that you go about looking at everything from this particular perspective. And now I've in turn adopted that as kind of the core perspective that I'm shifting the way that I see things through and looking at the story beneath the story beneath the story beneath the story. Um, and you're digging down to what is the fundamental core pillar that everything is being built on. So if I'm asking this question, whatever the question may be, that question has to be built upon something. Whatever that something is built upon something else. So how far deep can I go down to get down to what the absolute core pillar at the very, very bottom actually is that has built up all of these different things. And so what you said about the Garden of Eden is something that I had not considered before until that moment. And then once you said what you did, which I'm about to say in a moment, once you said what you did, suddenly these lights started coming on inside me. And I'm like, oh, well, then that means that I'm the snake in the grass. I'm the snake in the garden. And that's what I said that made you that, in the moment, neither one of us really caught it. I kind of caught it a little bit, but I'm like, I guess when you didn't respond very well, you didn't like jump in the moment. You didn't jump and go, okay, let's explore that. I was like, okay, well, maybe that's no big deal. But a week goes by and I was driving to Houston and on my screen in my car, the text message comes through and you said, I just stopped my lawnmower because I'm listening to our podcast. And you said something that really made me go, holy crap, that's deep. There's all the backstory. What you said was in the story in Genesis, when the snake comes to Eve and says, if you eat from this tree, you will be like God. The only way that that lands at all, the only way that she is even remotely interested in that idea is if she believes that she already is not like God. That is the core pillar, the foundational element that everything is built on. So, somewhere inside her consciousness is this notion that she is already not like God. Why? Because if she was like God, then she would look at the snake and go, or if she knew that she was like God, she would look at the snake and go, sorry, dude, I'm already there. Like, you know, why don't you eat that so you can be like me?
That's a great way to put it.
Like, what, if anyone, if any, between the two of us, if anyone's missing something here, it's probably you because you're the one suggesting that I'm not who I am. Like, what's up with that? But since somewhere in her consciousness she believed that she was separate from her source, the core foundational element, then she's intrigued, like, oh, but God said that if I eat from the tree, I'll die. And the snake says, no, you won't die. You'll be like God. But the only way that is interesting or appealing to her at all is if she believes that she is not. And so as you were describing that in that moment, I thought, oh, so every time that me, as all the different versions of me that there have been, and I appreciate spiritual teachers slash artists slash writers slash speakers slash coach slash whatever the hell you want to call him. His name is Rob Bell. Uh, amazing dude. But on his podcast, which is called the Robcast, he talks about different versions of himself. He's like, oh, well, that was 8 Robs ago. Well, my name is David Grant Smith. There, now you know what D stands for. My wife calls me David 9,000 times a day. In every conversation we have, she says my name about 12 or 16 different times as though I've forgotten it and I have Alzheimer's disease. But so I've been called Dave, David, Davey, dumbass, D Grant. Like there's all kinds of different versions of me. So past versions of me have created brands. We all know what brands are. When you have a brand, you have a product or a service and something you are trying to market to other people. And in doing so, you are offering them the quote unquote answer to their problem. By the way, when you do that, you are the snake in the garden telling the person that, hey, the thing that you think you're missing, the thing you think is keeping you separate from being whole, I have that. If you buy my thing, you'll have that too. And by the way, I've been the snake in the Garden of Eden, and I have offered Eve and all the variations of Eve that have ever been, in my human experience, answers and solutions, and I called them products, and I charged them money, and I delivered something. And I'm not trying to say that what I delivered was not good, or was not worthy, or did not have value. It had value. It was awesome. However, I was building off of a premise where I thought that my answer would make somebody whole instead of realizing that they already were whole. And so what I said in my conversation with Ray 2 episodes ago was, oh, well, I've been a snake in the garden too. And it's not to say that anybody that is in the coaching space or in the product creation space or in the entrepreneurial space or who owns a business or who is offering somebody answers and solutions to problems that are real and tangible, that suddenly makes them the devil. Not trying to say that at all, not even attempting to say that at all. I don't mean that. All of us have, I talk about Neville Goddard all the time. Neville says that the Bible is a story about human consciousness. And when you read the Bible, every single character in the Bible is you, personified. All of us have been an angel. All of us have been a devil. All of us have been Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel and all of the children. Because that is human consciousness. It doesn't vilify us and turn us into heroes or villains or victims. It's just human consciousness. And I'm identifying that we are perpetuating a cycle when we think that we need to buy another product or another service or another solution or another thing. Every time we do that, we are trying to grasp and take hold of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or the fruit of the tree that makes us whole. When none of that fruit is actually the thing that we need, we actually don't need anything except remembering that we're already there.
I'm imagining myself right now as a listener of the podcast. As a co-host, I'm hearing you differently. So I'm thinking that has to be something that the listener is going to recognize and notice as well. And what I feel like I'm hearing as a difference, like there's a lot more. Not that you've never sounded passionate on this podcast, because you have. But the level of passion seems to be magnified around this whole idea, the way that it's being expressed from you at this point in time. I think it's awesome. I think, and amazing that
thank you.
That is. I don't know if you recognized it as this.
No. So I appreciate you pointing it out.
As you hear me say that, what do you feel might be the reason for that? touching it's touching you. It touched you in a spot or it differently than other things have. Maybe it was. I'm just throwing this out there because I don't know. I'm asking you, but was it just the way that it resonated? Was it just landed in a way that the part of you that wants to argue didn't see it coming, and by the time it didn't matter because it couldn't
Hmm.
argue. What do you feel could have been the reason or might be the reason why it landed differently and caused that kind of a deeper reaction potentially? I'm using the word reaction loosely there.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. So for me, it's a domino effect. Um, because I've written books and created coaching programs and workshops and I've done all the things that I'm talking about other people doing as though other people are wrong or evil or they're not. If you're a coach, and by the way, uh, people still identify me as that, and in some ways I am. Like I've got a coaching slash consulting practice, and I'm leading people in publishing their own books. Um, and there's some personal development and spiritual growth involved in all that stuff, and there's monetary exchange that's taking place and all that. And so this isn't like a verdict against anybody or anything. It's just a greater level of awareness of what's going on consciously as these things are taking place. But the domino effect for me is I have spent lots and lots of money and lots of time trying to fix myself. Trying to let's see, when I was after I went through divorce, I invested a lot in personal growth and personal development and self-love, and wrote a book about it, and then facilitated some workshops and groups and some other things and coaching programs with other people and did all this stuff in the personal growth self-love space. um, I've hired multiple coaches to help with building business and generate money and wealth and all these different things. And all of that time, the story beneath the story beneath the story beneath the story of all of that was that something you talk about quite a bit, Ray, and have mentioned in a book that I'm helping you bring out into the world. Um, that this underlying belief that I am not quite enough. And so, since I'm not quite enough, then there's something else I need to move that little peg up on the board a little bit. And if I can just move the peg up on the board just a little bit more, then I'll finally start to feel like I'm making progress and or going to arrive at this pinnacle destination of sorts. And so going back to the what is the thing that is causing me to feel this passion for this stuff is the dominoes have been falling for quite a while, but I got to a place about 2.5 years ago where within my heart and in my spirit, I felt God say, "You're not spending another dime on coaching. You don't need that anymore. All this time you've already had everything that you needed, and all the people that you've brought into your space to tell you this stuff were just reminding you of things that you already knew. But you needed to hear it from their voice because then you would believe it. So, and you're actually good with money. You just have told yourself that you're not. So, you know what to do with that. Like, just let this go. Stop trying to read things to fix yourself. Stop trying to hire people to correct mistakes that are not actually real. Just let that go. Can you just be with you and enjoy life? And so, as I have been letting go of feeling like there's something about me that needs to be fixed, there's some broken piece of me that needs to be repaired, and then I'm hanging out with you, Ray, and I'm hanging out with Stephanie's a reminder of that too. One of my other best friends in the world, her name is Stephanie. She reminds me of this stuff too. She's constantly affirming me in my creativity and artistry and all this stuff. And my other close friends, I call them my clique. So the click is constantly like reminding me like, hey dude, you're awesome. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's I appreciate that remembrance. That's good. I'm constantly experiencing, oh, I have so much to be grateful for. I have so much to be thankful for. I don't need anything to complete me. And so what's coming, the building of the passion or whatever, is more and more of the realization that it's all already here. It's all already right now. There is no, the separation is the illusion, the appearance, or the thought that like I'm not already good enough is what I was focusing my attention on. But I've been shifting my focus away from that and living in the moment and living in the happiness right now. Wayne Dyer tells all these stories about people that like repeatedly say, oh no, happiness is what you experience before the thing happens. And you decide on happiness ahead of time. So like when you asked me on a scale of 1 to 7 billion, how fantastic is your day going? I decided that before I sat down with you. It wasn't that I sat down and I had this great news to share with you that because of this external event, my life is 7 billion% awesome. No, it's 7 billion 11% awesome because I decided that that's what it is. And that internal harmony and oneness with source is all that is.
I'd like to go back. We've talked about the economy of striving, and that's come up as a term in our podcasts before, several times actually, I believe. What we're working on now together is for lack of a better term, is a book, but not like a book is what most people would think about it, where it's almost like a reference point for what the economy of striving is. And you mentioned the belief that is at the core of the economy of striving, but that belief goes back to exactly what you were describing with the serpent's promise in the garden. And that is that there is something outside of me that I need that I don't have because I am not quite enough. And when you think about that, or when I think about that, when anybody thinks about that, I think it lands differently than anything that they've ever really heard or thought about before. And it's that belief, like we think of that belief as being the cause of everything that happened. Like, well, if she had just not listened. Okay. And how many times have we heard that, tongue in cheek, but I think it's tongue in cheek. I think it's tongue in cheek, but there's people that really think with all seriousness that this is all Eve's fault. That same promise is the promise that we wake up to every day. And the reason that it lands is because of that belief that we have chosen. You choose what you believe. Beliefs are chosen. I can choose to believe or I can choose not to believe. But if I choose to believe something long enough, I no longer recognize it as something that I chose to believe originally. And we have enough, like the entire human race has bought into that belief for so long that we don't recognize it as the perpetuation or the perpetual promise of what the serpent said to Eve in the story at the Garden of Eden. That I am living inside of that belief. I don't look at it as like, I look at it as something when I see it, like, well, I didn't choose that. But did I? because I get presented with the choice of whether or not I want to believe that in every moment.
Hmm.
So my choice now is, it's so easy. Like, how many times have we, even in the conversations that we have about things, that we now we catch ourselves.
Hmm.
We're like, hey, wait a second. I just caught myself trying to turn this thing into another performance.
Hmm.
Why is that? That's because that belief wasn't a one-time proposition made in the garden.
Hmm.
It's an every moment
Yeah.
proposition.
Yeah.
And that's, when we talk about this, like, when we say things about, the people that are selling abundance, well, you can't sell abundance, right? That's a snake oil salesman. We're
Yep.
not trying to make the people that do that villains.
Hmm.
It's an example of how prevalent this idea or this belief has become to the entirety of the human race.
Yeah.
It's not trying to make somebody good and somebody else bad, or somebody evil, right? Because they do this. It's how easy it is for us to forget that the reason that we're doing it is because we forgot that we made that choice. We forgot when it became something that we decided to pick up the measuring stick on our own and start measuring ourselves against, as opposed to someone else measuring us.
Hmm. Well, even just bringing measurement into the conversation in any way. Because
Exactly.
how do you measure abundance?
Well, you can't. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
But you can't put a price tag on it, but people want to put a price tag on it. And the reason that they want to put a price tag on it isn't because they're bad, or isn't because they're evil. It's because they forgot that they weren't already whole.
So this comes to me like I was having a conversation with a couple guys I meet with every week. Um, and if they're listening, shout out to Vinny and Topher. Um,
Hey, Vinny. Hey, Topher.
but we meet once a week and we go through these books. We're reading right now we're reading a book called, I got it right here, called Discernment: A Path to Spiritual Awakening by Rose Marie Doherty. And Rose incorporates spiritual traditions of Christianity and Buddhism into this perspective on what is discernment. And we're 3 chapters in, and basically what she has said is discernment isn't about being able to see things more clearly and making decisions better. Discernment is about having the clarity to see God in everything at all times, which previous to reading this book, the guys and I read Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And that is something that God tells Neil about 20 times in the book. Like, hey, by the way, I'm everywhere. I'm in everything. You think you have to go looking for me to find me, but there's not a place you can go on earth where I'm not there. The thing that keeps coming up in my conversations with Topher and Vinny is the premise that you and I keep coming back to, that is the belief that we are separate from God is actually at the core of all the things that we think are wrong with us or wrong with the world in some way. And so as soon as we bring, like you and I have talked about and we've talked about it here on the podcast, the drama triangle. As soon as we bring the idea of a victim into the conversation, and usually we're in that role because somebody has wronged us in some way, as soon as we vilify somebody else and make them the villain, they're the bad guy, they're the wrong person, they're the person that did things evil, they're the villain. And this is in every capacity of life: religion, politics, sports, the economy, entertainment, blah, 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 blah. As soon as there's a villain, then we need a hero to save us from this terrible entity that wants to destroy all that is good. But it's interesting because if we read the Bible, and I'm not somebody necessarily that reads the Bible literally anymore, but if I were somebody that just read the Bible literally and was taking everything at face value, after God creates everything in the first, 2 books of Genesis, after the creation of everything, it is good. There is no mention of anything not being good. Where does it say anywhere in the creation story that anything is not good? It doesn't. So since there is no mention of there not being anything good, that means that everything that exists is good inherently. If we believe, Wayne Dyer talks about this. Wayne says, there is only love. We're either moving towards it or moving away from it. But the idea that there is evil, that there are bad guys, that there are villains, that there is, all the things that we consider to be morally wrong, killing and destruction and greed and turmoil, those things exist, sure, but that's moving away from love. When we experience love and we experience harmony and we experience peace and we experience kindness and we experience joy and that's moving towards love. The idea of the separation is the notion, it is the pillar that we build everything on that takes us out of our harmony and our remembrance that we are already one with God. And it can become challenging to present that to people without having these kind of deep conversations where we're digging into the story beneath the story and finding, okay, that there's something that's being built on. Okay, so what's the story beneath that? Oh, there's something that's built on. What's the story beneath that? And getting down to that fundamental core thing. And when we come to that fundamental core thing, we get to what you've said numerous times: you're not quite enough. Which means you're separate from what is good, because all things are good.
And I'd like to, and maybe you're more familiar with the entire body of Wayne Dyer's work than what I am. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't been as in depth with it as you have. The small reframe that I would like to present, and I'd appreciate your thoughts on it. When you said when you paraphrase what Wayne said about love is all that is, you're either moving toward it or you're moving away from it. What if you can't move away from it? You can only think you're moving away from it.
Yep.
That the movement away from love is not real. It's an illusion. Because if love is all there is, then how can you move away from it? Except in the belief that it's possible to move away from it, which can only exist if you believe you are separate from it.
So here's what I'm understanding about what free will is. And this isn't necessarily a pivot from what it is that you just said. It all ties together. But because I have conversations with different people, my dad being one of them. Shout out to my dad if he's listening. That God gave humans free will and gave us choice, and because we chose to sin and go against God, then we get a just reward for punishment or whatever. What if the free will that is that has been described and has been interpreted through scripture and religion and all kinds of other stuff is not exactly the idea of free will, but is the choice to believe. Because there is what is, and we can create in our imaginations and our consciousness beliefs, and that's actually the free will. Because, like you've said, and it's all throughout all spiritual texts and even non-spiritual texts, quantum physics is showing this to be true, and so is neuroscience and a bunch of other different aspects of existence. But what, at a fundamental core level, you believe to be true in your consciousness is what you experience in your three-dimensional reality. Since that is the way that it is, that's the fabric, that's the unwritten universal laws of existence. We get to decide what we are choosing to align ourselves with from a belief standpoint. And so you're right. It's not that you're moving away from love or moving towards something else. It's the belief that you are. And so if we dig deeper into the soil of that and get into the story beneath the story of that, that is that's built on a framework or a foundation that says that you can believe something other than you are good. Going back to the Genesis story, that's you can believe that you are something other than good.
What I'm picking up from that is, and we've talked about this before as well, that the truth is true. Truth doesn't require my belief to be true. God is love, and love is all that there is truth. It doesn't matter whether I choose to believe that or not. It's what is. If I'm choosing to believe something different than that, then that's my free will. That's a choice that I am making. But the choice that I am making doesn't change truth. The choice that I am making doesn't change the reality of what is. It's just changing my perception of the reality of what is. It's just changing my perception of the truth. The problem with perception is, by definition, perception is partial. Any choice that I make that is to believe anything that is outside of the truth of what is, or the truth of what God is based on perception and cannot, by definition, be truth.
Can it be a part of truth?
It can't, because truth has no parts. If you think of it like that, right? The truth has no parts, and truth is whole by itself. Me thinking that it's partially true is part of the problem.
So, are you saying that everything that is not true is not real?
That's exactly what the truth is. It can't be real. How could it be?
The truth can't be real?
No, I'm saying is how could anything outside of it be real?
So if it's not real, what is it?
Well, you said it already. It's an illusion. It's an illusion, but it's not an illusion because we're all sinners. It's not an illusion because Eve was bad, and we're all suffering because of a choice that someone else made. It's it was a mistake. It was a it just even if you look at the definition of the word sin in the original languages, it means missing the mark.
Yeah, it's an archery term.
It's an archery term. It's a term about direction,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a term about alignment. So when you think of it like that, and something else that you said earlier made me think of, and I'm making this as a blanket statement, but I'm making it as a blanket statement off of a lot of study that I've done.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying this as like you need to believe this. I'm saying it as like if you want to look into this further, then go ahead and look into it further. I've done a lot of looking into it on my own. So when I say what I'm about to say is I'll just say it. The book of Hebrews is very, very clear when you study it and look at it from this perspective, not because you're trying to find a way that I'm wrong, but because you're trying to see what I'm talking about.
Mm.
The book of Hebrews basically says that the only sin is unbelief.
Mm.
There's not a multitude of sins. There's only one, and it's
So,
unbelief.
so, but that leads me to wonder, is unbelief possible?
Unbelief is possible in an illusion. Unbelief is possible within a dream.
So it's possible to not believe. It's possible to not have belief. When I hear unbelief, I'm hearing, oh, an absence of belief altogether. I'm not sure that that's possible as conscious beings.
Right. And that's a good this is a good conversation to have because I also don't want that to, like I said, I'm going to make a statement. It's going to sound like a blanket statement, but there's a lot more nuanced. It's a lot more nuanced than that, but it's more of a challenge of like, hey, don't go and prove me wrong. Like, go see what I'm talking about.
Right.
And, like, because there's the story in the Bible, like what, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief.
Mm.
And but the man was still healed, and I'm not remembering the particular story exactly as it is. It was either him or his son that was healed. Lord, I believe, help thou my unbelief.
I think it's the sun.
But the healing still happened,
Yeah.
but the unbelief still existed alongside the belief that was enough to heal.
What if it was the perception of unbelief? Like going back to what you said a minute ago about perception. Because what if unbelief isn't possible, but the perception of unbelief is what we're actually wrestling with?
And that is exactly, I think, the reframe that this conversation is getting to the root of is what if unbelief can't exist anywhere except in perception?
Ah, okay. In the same, it's okay. So what if separation, the ultimate illusion, can't exist anywhere except in the realm of perception?
That is the $1 million question that contains the answer within the question.
I'm immediately reminded of a MXPX song from like 1997 titled The Answers in the Question.
The answer is in the question. So many times the answer is in the question. We want to give an answer to the question because our perception is different than that. But so many times especially that question, right? What if unbelief is only possible in
So the whole time
perception?
we're talking about this,
Yeah.
and this happens. This happens in every one of our conversations, right? There's a movie reference that comes to mind. Usually it's The Matrix. I'm not thinking of The Matrix this time though. I'm thinking of The Prestige. And I've been thinking of The Prestige the entire conversation we've been having. Because the whole premise of The Prestige is, and the name of the movie comes after the piece of there's three phases essentially that an illusionist, quote unquote magician, brings the audience through. And The Prestige, I believe, is the second part, where you are focused on one thing, but there's something else that's going on that you can't see, or that your awareness is not keyed in on. But if your awareness was keyed in on it, it would totally eradicate the whole idea that there's quote unquote magic being done. And so the real game that's being played is, can the audience find the prestige that the magician is quote unquote hiding from them before the big reveal happens? And when you get to the end of the movie, The Prestige, made by my all-time favorite director, Christopher Nolan, who is all about exploring the story beneath the story, beneath the story, beneath the story. That's one of the things that makes him such an incredible artist and filmmaker. But when you get to the end of that movie, you want to immediately go back and rewatch it from the beginning because, okay, well, now I can see what I couldn't see up to this point. I want to go back and watch it so that I can see with this new set of lenses. And I've done that. I've watched the movie 2 times in a row, and he still fools me. But the reason I'm bringing this up is I wonder if, since there is only love and there is only good, if part of the game of life is not this game that higher consciousness, God, is playing with us and playing with his, her, itself at the same time, to just say, can I fool you? Will you see? I want you to see. But I want you to see and know that you're seeing. And so there is no punishment that you're not going to be punished for not seeing. That's not what this is about. You came here to experience all of creation in a human form with your 5 senses. And there's not a gambit, a cacophony of emotions that you will experience across the spectrum. And you want to experience all of them. That's why you incarnated. I want you to experience all of them. Some of them are going to come because you have put your focus and your attention and your consciousness on something that is not real. But I want you to have the opportunity to see that it's not real. And then get to a place where you're like, oh, I want to go back and do that again, and go back and do it again with a greater awareness than I had the first time.
Was there a question in there?
No, there's more of that's kind of, as you've been talking about all these things, I'm like, this is the prestige. Oh, this is the prestige. Oh, this is the prestige. Oh, this is the prestige.
The one thing I would say that for me that is helpful in the seeing is asking myself is it possible that the only way I can see this is because I think separation exists? Because so many of the things that we think we see, we can only see
from the perspective,
from that perspective that separation is real. And it's that's the challenge that we have every day, because that's the choice that we have to make every day. Like I said, the choice that we have when we get up in this moment is that promise the serpent made to Eve is the same promise that we're presented with in every moment. Am I looking at this as like do I think that I need to experience what it is that I think I'm experiencing because I believe that I am not quite enough? Or can I look at this as what the crap is going on because I am already whole? There's not something I need to achieve. There's not a goal I need to accomplish. There's not something for which to strive. I'm moving toward but I'm not moving towards something that I need to build. Like peace isn't something that needs built. Truth isn't
Mm-hmm.
something that needs built. Love isn't
Yeah.
something that needs built. Moving towards something is not the same as I have to build it. And that's to me the difference in, like you talk about, I ask myself this question a lot of times too, is now because and I'm not saying I'm perfect at it because I'm not, but one thing that I know that I'm better at than I used to be, you talked before about the version 8 times ago or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
is seeing patterns that I didn't see before. And having the voice in my head or my heart or my gut, wherever you want to say or however you want to say it, we can give all kinds of different terms to it, but it's the voice of God within me, the voice of source within me. That's the
Mm-hmm.
part of source that is within every single one of us that can't leave us. The problem is that we let the noise of everything else cover the voice. It doesn't mean the voice is no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I hear something now, I hear it differently than I did before. And sometimes I hear something and right away there's something inside of me that goes, time out. Where is the sleight of hand here?
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, is almost immediately I can recognize the sleight of hand. I can see where it's so subtle sometimes. Like just like we talked about earlier, and you and I've caught ourselves even in our own conversations, is like we catch ourselves falling back into the I am not quite enough
Yeah.
circle or hamster wheel, for lack of a better term. Is it uh, that's how subtle it is. I mean, the image of the serpent wasn't evil. Like, the image of the serpent was like, doesn't the Bible even say that the serpent was more subtle?
Mm. I think it, depending on the translation, it's either subtle or crafty.
So think about that, right? What is a sleight of hand? What is a sleight of hand that's effective? Back to your reference of the
Ah, yeah.
prestige.
Yeah. Ooh, good point.
It's subtle. It's crafty. It's not obvious. Even when you get to the end and you're told what it is and you go back and watch it again, you still don't see it. Why? Because it's subtle. That's it's not a warning. It's not like, it's not a warning label that we need to put on every interaction that we have. It's a recognition. Like, what is really happening here? And does this feel true? And if it doesn't, it's because there is something else going on behind the scenes, whether we can exactly see it for what it is or not. We know that something is off. You feel off. We all feel off every day,
Mhm.
sometimes every moment of every day, and just don't realize what it is we're feeling. Now, but once you see it, it's really hard to unsee it. Once you see it, though, what changes isn't the thing that you see. What changes is your relationship to the thing that you see.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking from, my experience with it is, I know not everybody is in the same place, and I'm not suggesting that everybody needs to be in the same place. The is just notice, right? Start to notice what's what's happening. Like, even if you have to stop yourself in the middle of something and just say time, give yourself a timeout and say, hang on a second, what's really
Mm-hmm.
happening here? Is this is this thought that I just had based on the belief that I am not quite enough, that there is something outside of me that I need? Where is this coming from? Why am I feeling this way? Is there a sleight of hand? And not from the perspective of what do I do with it now, is
Mm,
like it, but it, if I see it, I can't unsee it.
yeah.
And so I don't need to do anything differently. I just need to see it.
And so it's the antithesis of the things that we think we're supposed to be doing. If there's not a problem, then there's nothing you need to change.
If there's
If
not a
it,
problem, there's nothing to solve.
exactly. So if it's just a matter of the lights coming on and you letting them be on, aside from the fact that once the lights come on in this sort of idea, we're talking about consciousness. Once awakening begins and the lights start coming on, you can't turn them off. But you can choose to not be okay with them being on.
You may remember this or not remember this because it was recent and maybe you didn't hear it yet. I actually mentioned this exact same thing in my podcast,
Unsupervised?
Ray Gage Unsupervised. And if if a if the light comes on and for whatever reason or for whatever place someone is at in their story, they're not comfortable with the light, who moves?
Hmm.
Like light doesn't chase. Like, light doesn't apologize for being light.
Yeah.
Now this isn't that's that this is where we need to be precise, because that's not a judgment of the people who moved.
Mm-hmm.
It's simply an observation about the nature of light.
But this goes back to perception.
It goes back to perception. But it's like, almost like and I want to throw in, like we like to throw in the scripture references too, where in John chapter 1, it says that men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil, not because they were evil. So the we have a tendency to want to judge people who move when the light comes on because they're not
Mm.
comfortable. That's not what we're doing. And we aren't supposed to judge, right? Judge not it is something we can't do, right? Not because it's impermissible, but because it's literally impossible. We don't
Mm.
have we don't have complete information. We can't.
Mm.
So that's where it's like that's where I think that sometimes that when we have these conversations, I more and more I feel like I want to make sure that that people understand that we're not judging them. Like if you're hearing this and it's not landing for you the way that we think it should land for you, we're not judging.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a judgment of back to this kind of we're back around the circle, right? And the way that you felt when you recognized that you were perpetuating the promise.
Mm. Yeah.
And what happened? The light came on and you were okay sitting in the light.
Yeah. Well, also, I had been the one that ran away from the light.
Yeah,
And
so you were all the characters again, right?
I am So so the recognition that Neville talks about this too. Neville says that, and I reference him a lot because his verbiage and his articulation and his descriptions of things I resonate with. It makes sense to me. But in our life experiences, in our consciousness, we play all of the parts. But as though it's a play, but we are not just the characters in the play. We're also the writer of the play, and we are the director of the play. And going further, we are the lighting technicians that are lighting certain parts of the stage at certain times and dimming them at certain times, and the crew is changing out all the set pieces. We play all the roles. So when I realize that, what that's doing for me is that's bringing me back to the realization that not only can I not be critical of other people, I've been very anti-judgmental of others. So I'm gonna pivot here. My wife, Stephanie, is friends with a lady that I was married to for almost a dozen years, and they hang out regularly, and they've been building a friendship. And I do not call her my ex-wife because I don't have that in my vernacular. There are no exes in any of my relationships. I've dated some people and I was married to one person, but like I don't ex anybody. For me to ex somebody, my definition and translation of that is it makes them villainous in some sort of way. And so I don't have villains in my story. I'm not a savior, and I'm not super. I like Superman, but I'm imagining a world where Superman doesn't have to save the day, where he just gets to be Kal-El and fly around and do fun stuff. The reason I'm mentioning all of this is that in the grand scheme of things, to remove myself from seeing anybody else as a villain, or seeing a need for a hero, or even trying to see myself in that place. Because, by the way, past versions of this guy had ridiculous savior complexes. Since I have facilitated all the roles and I'm playing all of the roles, there's nobody for me to hate. There's only love. And that comes back to what we talked about a minute ago. There is only love. I can either be at home and at ease with it because all the lights have been turned on, or I can be buying into an illusion.
Is it fair to say, without it sounding too much like a blanket statement, that if I believe, or not necessarily if I believe it, but if I recognize that God is love and love is all, that I can't believe that and also see anything as separate from myself?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that it goes back to the prestige. It goes back to the perception, and it goes back to playing all of the rules.
If God is love and love is all, then perception has to be illusion. Because there's no partiality in all. And so if perception is partial, then perception can't exist except in perception, or in the belief that there's something other than all.
Yeah. So it's kind of like creating. Okay, what's coming to me is it's like creating multiple dimensions, but thinking that you only exist in one, when really you exist in all of them. And then as the lights are coming on, you're like, oh, well, I actually do exist in that dimension too. Huh? Okay. I thought that wasn't real. And
Yeah.
so then the prestige extends further, and the reality of I need to sit with this, because what's coming to me is, what if the non-reality or the unbelief or the not real, what if that's not even real? It's just something that I had told myself was true so that I could be in the dark for a little while and play around.
In yeah, what if? Because what would we like? Is seeing even necessary within wholeness, or is seeing only the seeing only exist because of the belief in separation, because of perception? The
Oh,
seeing,
wow.
like, what is there that I need to see
Yeah.
if I'm
How?
whole?
Wow, that's deep. There, you've had multiple mic drop moments today, Ray, but I believe that might be the capstone. I'm gonna sit with that. And maybe that's the best place for us to conclude today.
Yeah. So my closing three words with most of the episodes of Ray Gage Unsupervised is sit with this.
Hmm.
Sometimes I follow that up with discomfort means it landed.
Hmm. Well, I'm gonna quote myself, because why not? Um, and I said this in a book I wrote in 2019 called "Be Solid: How to Go Through Hell and Come Out Whole." But what you can go through hell and be whole the entire time. Anyhow, what I said in the book was, pain, and let's just use discomfort in this case, because you just said discomfort means it landed. Discomfort can be a great teacher, not that we need one, but can be a great teacher because it has our undivided attention if we allow it to. So in this place of everything that has been said up to this point, and then that big capstone that Ray just said about, what if there's nothing to see because you're already whole? So what is there to see? That doesn't feel uncomfortable in a like physical sort of like, that's a scratchy shirt, or that's a, poking needle thorn in my shoe or something. Like, it's not that kind of uncomfortable, but it does kind of sit a little funky, because we focused, for me, almost 45 years of my life on trying to see better, whether I'm talking about my physical senses, I wear glasses, but or my spiritual senses or my emotional senses. Wow. Okay. I am going to sit with that.
Beautiful. And I agree. Perfect place to stop. So I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation, and you can be sure that we will be continuing it.
Absolutely.
But sit with this. I will sit with this. D will sit with this. I would challenge everyone, sit with this.